A row of mailboxes stands in open water, rusted, tilted, still holding their numbers. Once this was a street on all the Jean Charles, Louisiana. Now it's a channel. A pelican lands on one of the boxes. Waves slap against it. The sound is calm. Then, a motor breaks the silence. A single skiff moves through what used to be front yards. The woman steering it doesn't need to look around. She's done this route every morning for years. Her name is Marie Verdin. She's one of the last people still here. The boat drifts up to a weathered house on stilts. Marie ties it to what used to be the front steps and steps on a solid ground, calm and unhurried. Marie steps onto her porch. Water laps at the stilts below. Her coffee mug sits lined with salt and sun. On the doorframe, 47 pencil marks trace the floods of the past 2 years. Some marks are barely 3 weeks apart. She runs her fingers along one, worn smooth. "This house remembers my father," she says. A faded photograph leans against the window. Her father standing beside a fishing boat in 1985. The same boat post now juts from open water, 30 yards from her porch. Back then, it stood 400 feet from the shoreline. She ties a sandbag at the doorframe, checks the tide chart, and scans the horizon. Each task is small, deliberate, essential. She doesn't talk about leaving. Her defiance is quiet but firm. Her son calls from the mainland sometimes. He urges her to accept the government's buyout. "It's not an opportunity, Mom," he pleads. "It's a chance to survive." She listens, smiles faintly, then returns to her work. Marie measures the distance from a memory. Every flood, every inch of water encroaching, is a record of time, of survival, of attachment. "We thought we were making a living," says a former canal worker. "Turns out, we were digging our own graves." For decades, oil companies carved thousands of canals through the marshes of all the Jean Charles. Each channel sliced through protective vegetation, letting salt water creep inland. The same hands that fed families also opened the wounds that now swallow streets and yards. From above, the island looks like a patchwork quilt unraveling. Roads dissolve into murky water. Houses tilt as foundations soften. Time-lapse satellite images reveal the scale. Marshland disappearing year after year, leaving skeletal remnants where communities once thrived. The irony is immediate and personal. A man dug a canal in the 1970s to earn money. That same water now laps at his childhood home. Salt water doesn't just consume land, it erases memory. Since 1950, all the Jean Charles has lost roughly 90% of its land. At this rate, what remains may vanish in fewer than 20 years. The flood marks Marie traces on her doorframe are personal, but they echo a larger story. Humans, water, and the fragile boundary between survival and memory. All the Jean Charles is being dissolved from the inside out. A slow, almost invisible disaster. Every flooded yard, tilted roof, and encroaching canal tells a story of unintended consequences and vanished lives. In 2016, the U.S. government offered $48 million to relocate the remaining families inland. The new homes were uniform suburban boxes. No porches, no horizon scan, miles from the water. For this community, survival meant giving up their culture, their identity, and their connection to the marsh. 40 families refused the money. They knew their identity wasn't tied to a uniform structure, but to the silt, the tide, and the legacy beneath their feet. Some stayed because their roots ran too deep. Others because no amount of cash could replace ancestral waters. The right to fish as their parents did, or the ability to die where they were born. A few didn't believe the island would disappear. They had survived hurricanes before. Marie's son calls from the mainland. "Mom, it's not just a choice anymore. The land is officially condemned." She listens, silent. Her gestures are deliberate, tying sandbags, scanning the horizon, maintaining her rituals. Each act is a witness to what the government intends to erase. The inland homes are orderly, sterile, Perfect rows with no history, no salt in the air, no creaking wood, no tide boats. Windows face identical neighbors instead of the horizon. Children walk past identical houses. Nowhere to fish, nowhere to watch the tide. Survival came at a cost that money couldn't measure. Culture, memory, and identity. Is it tradition, faith, or pride? Why do you think some families refuse to leave? For those who left, relocation meant safety, but also a second exile, the slow, deliberate erasure of a people's connection to their land. Marie steps onto her porch. Water laps at the stilts beneath her feet. This year alone, her doorframe has marked 47 floods. Some came within weeks of each other. She runs her fingers along the worn pencil lines, a tactile record of survival, memory, and relentless change. She ties a sandbag, adjusts a board, scans the horizon. Each gesture is deliberate, a quiet act of defiance against the water, against relocation, against erasure. Her eyes settle on where her neighbor's house once stood. Now, only water reflects the fading sky. The world she knows is disappearing, inch by inch, year by year. She says softly, almost to herself, "I'll leave when the house floats away, and not before." The wind lifts her hair. The sun glints on the marsh water, the last remnants of the streets and memories that shaped her life. She watches, unflinching, as the tide continues its slow work. No narration is needed to summarize. The image of Marie, steadfast on her porch against the vanishing island, carries the story, the emotion, and the weight of history.